Let's go ahead and bring in criminal defense attorney Michael Gottlieb. As we have those verdict clocks up in the Florida case, over 1 hour they have been deliberating so far. Michael, what is your takeaway from that cross-examination and the prosecutor and some of the things that she said in the beginning when she was asking him to look at her? Are you going to look me in the eye? She even said that in one of her comments. She said, you're not even looking the jury in the eye.
Yeah, I mean, that's not... I don't feel that that's significant at all. I don't think it's proving any points. I think, if anything, it shows either he's remorseful or maybe he doesn't have, or he does have some kind of significant mental health problems. I don't think she's winning points on this cross-examination. I don't think starting out that way endears her to the jury. This is an individual who seemingly has a mental health problem. He looks at in terms of his attitude and demeanor and his affect while he's in court. But I think more importantly, she's opened the door to his mental health by asking him, what were you thinking at the time? And I think he's really doing pretty well in basically saying, I wasn't thinking, I was insane at the time. And then he goes further to explain, these weren't my parents. You don't know how they treated me. Have you ever been a mother? That's planting questions in the minds of the jury. Is this an individual who was subject to abuse? Has he been abused? Was he acting in rage because these were people who took advantage of him? And I think that those are questions, at least at this point in time, that remain unanswered by this cross-examination.
Yeah, some of the other things that we heard with him on the stand was they had adopted him from the Ukraine, but yet the father didn't want a boy. He had preferred a girl. He actually wasn't even that interested in adoption in the first place. So he was able to get a lot of information out on cross, and then even going as far as saying, well, he didn't even love Jennifer, talking about the father loving his wife. So he got a lot of information out, and you could tell he was getting under the prosecutor's skin.
Oh, yeah. First of all, prosecutors are more accustomed to doing direct examinations. Not that they don't do cross-examinations, but it's very rare for a defendant to testify in a criminal case. And again, him testifying here was against the advice of his counsel, so they may not have had any notice whatsoever. And it kind of feels like, typically when you do a cross-examination, you want to ask a question that you know the answer to, not a question that you don't know the answer to, and not an open-ended question. And there's a lot of fishing that seems to be going on. If I were to do the cross-examination, I would just go through his confession. You said this, you said this, you said this, and then shut it down. I think that by giving him the opportunity to talk, they're really hurting their case.
Yeah, and then, you know, we did hear him eventually say on the cross-examination, she was getting him to eventually admit that he had thought about this moments before, when maybe he was in the car and maybe one other time. She did get him to say that, and so you have defense counsel here asking the jury for manslaughter. When he said that, I mean, that does say premeditation.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about premeditation. It can be seconds before a crime. It can be days, weeks, or months before a crime. So the fact that he's thought about it in the past, the fact that he thought about it right before he did it, may plant in the minds of the jurors that, yes, this is premeditated first-degree murder, and that's what we should convict him of.
Yeah. We'll continue to follow it. Michael, thank you. We're going to squeeze